American aviatrix Amelia Earhart was born on July 24, 1897, in Atchison, Kansas. Amelia was a rambunctious child, though her mother wanted her to be a proper lady instead of a tomboy.
I can see Amelia growing up and seeing her mother juggling an alcoholic husband, not very much money, and I think throughout her life, Amelia tried to avoid any kind of conventional female life.
After a plane ride at an air show, she decided she would learn to fly. In 1928, she was invited to be the first female to fly across the Atlantic, but only as a passenger. With pilot Bill Stultz and mechanic Louis E. Gordon, Earhart landed in the United Kingdom on June 17, 1928. Amelia was an instant sensation.
I think she was somewhat embarrassed by the attention she got because, as she knew, she had done nothing on this flight. She was just a passenger. She kept the log, but she really referred to herself as a sack of potatoes.
After the flight, promoter George P. Putnam began managing Amelia's career with lecture tours and product endorsements.
People criticized GP for pushing Amelia too hard. Number one, I think she was a willing participant in this. And number two, she really had to do it. That was the way that you would raise the money for these flights.
Though their relationship started out strictly professional, they would eventually marry in 1931. After several more successful flights, including a solo trip across the Atlantic, Earhart decided to fly around the world. Amelia and navigator Fred Noonan took off from Oakland, California on June 1, 1937, and made it 22,000 miles to Les New Guinea.
On Earhart's last flight, having started out with ill health, fatigue, on the way along the flight, she would fly an average very often of 10 to 12 hours a day. So by the time she got to Les, she was a wreck.
The next leg to Howland Island was problematic. Overcast skies hindered celestial navigation, and it was discovered later they were using inaccurate maps. At 8:43 a.m. on July 3rd, U.S. Coast Guard vessel Ithaca received the last communication from Earhart and launched an immediate search. However, the plane was never found.
It's not the mystery of her disappearance that we want to stress. To her, flying was such a wonderful experience, and she wanted it to be safe. She wanted people to enjoy it as she did.
Wilma Rudolph was one of America's first major national superstars in track.
Wilma Rudolph was born on June 23, 1940, in Tennessee, the 20th of 22 children. At age 4, she contracted polio. Her doctors said she would never walk again, but with physical therapy, leg braces, and true grit, Wilma Rudolph was walking by age 12.
During her high school years, Wilma Rudolph was a great basketball player, and Ed Temple from Tennessee State University saw her, and he saw a lot of potential, not only in basketball, but also in track. He had her work out with the college track team in the summers.
At age 16, Wilma Rudolph won a bronze medal in the 1956 Melbourne Olympic Games for the 4x100 relay. Returning to the U.S., she attended Tennessee State University on a scholarship, where Ed Temple continued her training. 4 years later in the Rome Olympics, along with Wilma, almost the entire U.S. track team consisted of Ed Temple's runners.
She was phenomenal in the 1960 games in Rome. The 2 sprint events she won in blowouts, and she anchored the relay team that had a come from behind victory to win gold as well.
Wilma Rudolph was the first American woman to win 3 gold medals in a single Olympics. She became an overnight sensation.
Wilma Rudolph returned home from the Rome Olympics to a hero's welcome. When she learned that her ticker tape parade was to be segregated, she refused to attend and forced a change.
Wilma Rudolph Day was the first integrated event in municipal history in the city of Clarksville, Tennessee.
Wilma Rudolph was only 22 years old when she retired from competitive sports in 1962.
She decided to go back to Tennessee State University, and she got her degree in teaching, and she became a teacher.
Rudolph would go on to coach track at Indiana's DePaul University, serve as a goodwill ambassador to French West Africa, and raise a family of 4 children.
Wilma Rudolph was inducted into the Black Athletes Hall of Fame in 1973, the National Track Hall of Fame in 1974, and she wrote her own autobiography titled Wilma, which was turned into a TV movie in 1977 called Wilma.
Wilma Rudolph died of brain cancer at the age of 54 on November 12, 1994, in Nashville, Tennessee.
One of the most prestigious awards in women's sports is the Wilma Rudolph Award of Courage, given by the Women's Sports Foundation. Wilma Rudolph is a huge inspiration to me and to many others, and really that is her legacy.
As the first woman appointed to the U.S. Supreme Court, Sandra Day OConnor was a trailblazer for equal rights.
Sandra Day OConnor goes down in the history books, but she also proved herself to be a fine jurist in touch with the heartbeat of the American people.
On March 26, 1930, Sandra Day OConnor was born in El Paso, Texas, and later wrote about how her rugged childhood influenced her in her memoir Lazy Bee, growing up on a cattle ranch in the American Southwest.
Justice O'Connor has always been an example of somebody who worked very hard, spoke the truth as she saw it, and wrote opinions that were clear and simple and to the point.
In 1950, O'Connor graduated from Stanford with a BA in economics and continued to Stanford Law School. After graduating, O'Connor struggled to find work as an attorney and instead worked for free for the county of San Mateo and eventually became the deputy county attorney.
She was, in her illustrious career, a path-breaking woman, a woman who went through a legal career when there was tremendous discrimination against women in the law, when it was unusual to be a woman partner at a firm and definitely a woman judge.
O'Connor continued to serve the public as the Assistant Attorney General in Arizona and later was appointed to the state Senate. In 1975, O'Connor was elected to the Superior Court before being nominated by President Ronald Reagan as an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court in 1981.
President Reagan entered the White House determined to put a woman on the Supreme Court. He really thought it was important, and he also understood politically that it would serve him well because as a politician he initially did better with men than women, and so there was an element of politics in his deciding to focus on a woman.
Although considered a moderate conservative, O'Connor provided a crucial vote to uphold abortion rights in the case to overturn Roe v. Wade. During the 2000 election of Bush versus Gore, O'Connor again gave a deciding vote when she agreed to uphold Florida's court decision in favor of President George Bush.
O'Connor was never really a legal scholar. She approached every case on the merits, on a case-by-case basis. So sometimes she would weave to the right, sometimes she would weave to the left. And as a result, she became a swing vote, one of the crucial votes that was necessary to achieve a majority opinion.
Due to her husband's failing health, Justice O'Connor retired from court on January 31, 2006, but continued to remain active as a speaker, author, and educator. In 2009, Sandra Day OConnor received the Presidential Medal of Freedom. A trailblazer who appeared in more than 300 films, Hattie McDaniel became the first African American to win an Academy Award.
In Hattie McDaniel's Oscar acceptance speech, she said that she hoped to be a credit to her race. And there is no way that you can deny that she was.
Born on June 10, 1895 in Wichita, Kansas, Hattie McDaniel was the youngest of 13 children born to 2 former slaves. While still in high school, McDaniel began performing professionally, and in 1925 she became one of the first African American women to sing on the radio.
Hattie McDaniel actually started her career as a singer and a dancer on the stage, and she had a quite extensive radio career, both as a singer and as a comedian. So her roles in Hollywood were much more limited than her roles in other media.
After coming to Hollywood in 1931, McDaniel began appearing in small, uncredited roles before landing a major part in John Ford's Judge Priest. McDaniel went on to work in a string of movies with actors such as Jean Harlow, Clark Gable, Jimmy Stewart, and Ginger Rogers.
Hattie McDaniel was a terrific actress and so often relegated down in the credit role, but her performance in many of these movies is the performance that you remember.
In 1939, McDaniel won the role of Mammy in the epic film Gone with the Wind and took home the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. The film earned 10 Oscars and was later ranked by AFI as the 4th greatest American film of all time.
When I started working, me and my fellow actors, we looked at a script and we were wondering what page we would die on. We were always drug dealers, we were mugging somebody. Hattie McDaniel is a historic figure in the film business. If she hadn't done what she did and won the Oscar when she won it, who knows how long it would take us to get to where we are now.
Although McDaniel's Oscar win was a major victory, many civil rights activists felt McDaniel perpetuated Hollywood stereotypes and criticized the actress for not becoming politically active.
The NAACP for years complained about stereotyped roles in Hollywood and actually personally attacked Hattie McDaniel. But Hattie McDaniel famously said, "I can either work in Hollywood as a maid and make $700 a week, or I can work as a maid and make $7 a week."
McDaniel continued to act on TV, radio, and film, but she was diagnosed with breast cancer in 1952 and succumbed to her illness on October 26th of that year. McDaniel was posthumously awarded 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame for her work in both film and radio.
Hattie McDaniel is still remembered today and is invoked often at the Academy Awards. When Monique won her Supporting Actress Award for Precious, she thanked Hattie McDaniel, the person who blazed the trail for her, and she said, "Without Hattie McDaniel, I wouldn't be standing here today." And that's true.